What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I'm here to talk about all of my revenue streams as a 25-year-old. So my revenue streams are divided into a few different categories. The primary bulk of it comes from YouTube and the media company, as well as working on brand sponsorships. The other sector also comes from real estate, where I have 4 properties at the moment, with some being on Airbnb. And I also co-own a clothing company, launched an online course recently. And so I feel like it's good to do this video every few years to be able to give people some ideas and insight as to what revenue streams I have at the moment, as well as how it has changed over the years. I think the biggest thing that I've learned after working online and for myself for the last decade since I was a teenager is that in the beginning, there's gonna be a ton of experimenting where you're gonna try a ton of different revenue streams, and you might have your overall revenue come from 10 different places, and it might be very evenly distributed. But especially as the business has developed and as I've kind of found new opportunities in certain spaces, what I found the most important since then is actually to narrow down those revenue streams to the things that you are the best at and really focus in on a few core sectors that not only have the most potential, bring in the most revenue, are the most fun for you, and also best optimize your skills and your team, while also having some passive revenue streams such as real estate, which is something that I also happen to be very passionate about, as well as an online course which teaches my experience of working with some of the largest brands in the world over the last decade. And for anyone who's into YouTube, that is kind of who it's intended for. And it's more of a passive revenue stream comparative to YouTube and sponsorships, where we have to constantly make videos pretty much every single day. All these revenue streams come together and generate millions of dollars per year. So I'm going to break down each one in detail, how they've evolved, and also how big of a significance they are to the overall revenue. So let's just go ahead and get started with my main revenue stream and what I essentially structured my entire lifestyle around, and that is owning the media company, which has the YouTube channel as its flagship platform. You guys know that I've been making videos now for 10 years, and I started out as someone who just was a little bit interested in tech. I saved up many years to buy my first iPod, made some videos of that, and developed a passion for tech through accessories, consumer tech such as laptops and smartphones, before also covering home technology, cars, and travel campaigns. When I was still in school and going through university, I spent all of my free time, class time, and weekends producing these videos, and for the first few years, it really didn't generate that much revenue. But eventually, as influencer marketing grew, our channel size also grew, and we started getting a lot of opportunities, and that is where I eventually decided to drop out, make great connections from traveling all around the world with all the biggest tech brands. And from there, the business just continued to scale at a rate of about double every single year. We typically try to produce about 80 to 100 videos a year, and at peak travel, I've flown over 100 times as well. So you could probably imagine every single day of the year, including weekends, is spent working on videos in one way or another. There are constantly deadlines throughout the week, sometimes multiples per day, and on average that results in, about 80 to 100 videos, which is obviously at a pretty big scale and leads to 7 figures of overall revenue, even just to start this year. So sponsorships within YouTube videos such as ad slots, dedicated video partnerships are the biggest chunk of sponsorship revenue, but you guys also see certain sponsored posts on Instagram, as well as Reels, which can result in 5 figures for a single post. On top of that, there's also other streams such as YouTube AdSense, and I'm gonna go ahead and open up my AdSense revenue right now. And in the tech industry, AdSense is definitely not the main revenue stream, whereas in stuff like personal finance, it is. In the last 365 days, for example, I've made $113,927 from AdSense, and that is essentially a passive income stream. You go ahead and upload videos as you would. There are paid sponsorships within those, and the videos generate AdSense revenue on their own. Obviously, with passive and active income streams, if your views are higher, your AdSense is going to be higher, and as a result of that, your sponsorship contracts are also going to be at a higher price as well. Looking at the YouTube channel itself, though, we're currently at about 760,000 subscribers, which for some is a lot, and in the grand scheme of things is definitely not a very large channel. But because we've chosen an industry such as consumer technology, electric cars, the brand deals can be relatively lucrative, and we also do pride ourselves in trying to film the videos in as high quality as possible, and often in commercial grade, because we're then able to leverage that in terms of our negotiation process, and at the same time also license the content to the brands for usage on their own platforms, which can range anywhere from like a $5,000 flat rate to, in some cases, tens of thousands in large deals. In any product-based industry, there are also affiliates where you get a percentage of the revenue that you generate from placing links to products that you have featured or demonstrated in your video. So Amazon Affiliates is a platform that can generate tens of thousands per year. And there's also other things that we've also featured on the channel, such as Ergonoffice standing desks, which retail for like $1,500 to $1,600 at its starting point. And we were able to convert, I think, nearly 100 sales. And that is something where we might get like $50 per desk that we sell, but the primary revenue stream for tech YouTubers specifically comes from brand sponsorships. So I know this video is about my current revenue streams as a 25-year-old, but one thing that I'm also fully aware of is that a lot of these revenue streams took nearly a decade to build. The YouTube channel had to build a following before it was revenue generating. The YouTube course is based on my 10 years of experience, and real estate obviously needs some capital to be able to purchase property and invest in that fashion. So here are some ideas for anyone who is currently a teenager and just needs some ways to start making money relatively early. And one thing that I really focus on in this little segment is things that you can do to not only make money, but also develop skills that you can use throughout your career, even 10 years later. So the first one is the most obvious one, and it's something that I did to save up for my very first iPod Touch that I used to film my videos, and that was just trading time for money. I washed cars, clean around the house, you can do like babysitting, dog sitting, or if you want to like mow the lawn. So the next one is what I feel like taught the most skills that I still use in my career today, and that is just flipping things and also selling things on classifieds or even on eBay. So for example, if my parents had anything around the house that they wanted me to sell or didn't need anymore, I would go ahead and list it on Craigslist, and I'd be the one that organizes the sale, negotiates the price, and just sorts everything out from like the start to finish. And as a result of that, I would get like a 10% commission, for example. Sometimes that'd be $5 to $10, other times it could be $20 to $50. But at the same time, you can also like buy and sell things depending on an area that you're interested in on Facebook Marketplace, which I would say is the most powerful one nowadays, or even on eBay. And that really taught me the logistics side of things and figuring out how to like print shipping labels, work a little bit of the e-commerce. And these are skills that I use today because there was like negotiation, there was organization, customer service aspects, and a lot of what my job is right now as like a media company owner is talking to the sponsors and being able to work out the budgets of the campaign and also ensuring that they're happy with the organization and delivery of the product. The next tier there I would say is like the creative side of things. There's so much demand for videography, photography, web design, and writers that if you're able to pick up some skills, not only through like researching a topic that you're interested in or watching YouTube videos on how to film or use editing software on a computer, I personally have a lot of troubles finding good editors. And even if you're just like an introductory editor, you can at least do things like cutting podcasts, removing mistakes, cutting A-roll in videos, for example. And I have my intern cut A-roll, and as he develops as like a video editor, then he can start to work on more of the creative side of video editing, such as putting a story together. I also wrote for a blog when I was in university, and those would pay like $125 an article, and at the speed that I was able to type and my natural knowledge in the tech industry, I was able to knock out like 2 articles in about an hour, and that would be more of like a once to twice a week thing, so not like a full-time income, but for the amount of time I spent and just like sitting in class, it was pretty good side money. I think one thing in the creative industry though is that if you're just getting started or you're a little bit younger, you might have to do some free demonstration work for the very first time. I would say go up to a product or a client that you're interested in, maybe buy it yourself or borrow it, film the video that you're capable of or create content around that and send it over. And if they would like to have that same content done for other products, then of course that is where you can charge. When you're just getting started, there's like a lot of phases where you kind of have to prove yourself, or people might think you're a little bit too young or inexperienced. But if you are capable, then by showing them what you're able to do, you're a lot of times able to secure many contracts. So now we're going to talk about a more passive stream that my company's been working on a bit more lately. The thing about making YouTube videos and working on brand campaigns is that it is fully hands-on, and if you take on a ton of campaigns, then it is essentially around the clock. You're always filming, you're editing, weekends are all filled up with doing some kind of work or another. And although I do enjoy what I do and like to have the ability to be able to work on all these great campaigns, At some point, it is nice to build a passive side, and that passive side has been real estate as well as an online course that we have created over the past year. So on the topic of courses, I want to give a huge thanks to the sponsor of this video, Play.io. So essentially what Play.io does is that you can either use their desktop or their mobile app, and it makes it very fast and easy to create effective campaigns, and it really guides you through the process to ensure that it is as efficient as possible. You can launch targeted ads in seconds with Play, and it also has an ad tool that is built for small teams and creators to launch ads like a pro with no experience required. All you have to do is plug in your creative and budget, and Play is able to run that ad campaign for you on the platform of choice. Anyone can promote their brand and their product with as little as $1 a day, and when you create an ad, you can include multiple graphics, ad text, targeting, and more for Play to automatically A/B test and improve your results over time. Because the most important thing when it comes to running ads is comparing the CTR, the time spent on site, just to figure out what's most effective and what you should allocate more money towards. Another great feature for anyone who is new is that they also have pre-built templates that make it very fast and easy to create an effective visual, because I know like the graphic design side of things can be a little bit confusing at the start, and this is like the perfect tool for our YouTube course because I have no prior experience in like Facebook ads. Play also makes it very easy to launch retargeted audiences across Facebook, Instagram, and Google, and you can also build lookalike audience right within Play. If you guys want to go ahead and check it out for yourself and get that 7-day free trial, I'm going to drop a link down below. Throughout my entire YouTube career, we have worked on real campaigns with some of the largest tech companies in the world. So obviously there's a lot of experience when it comes to negotiation, working on the business, the mistakes that I've made over the years and how I've learned from them. And being someone who's been in that industry for 10 years, ever since I was just a teenager, I feel like there is just so many stories that I could tell, and so we decided to make an online course that is focused on YouTube business, and it is called Creator Cash Flow and How to Make Your First $1 Million on YouTube. Because I started as someone who like didn't make any money on YouTube. Eventually I turned it into like a $20,000 or $30,000 business in high school, then it doubled, and then eventually hit 6 figures in university, and now it has grown in 7 figures, and the core business of it is exactly the same as when I initially started, just at a significantly larger scale. So in that course, we have over 8 hours of video content, as well as over 150 pages in a PDF textbook that explains everything that we talked about in the video content. There is also a quiz to each chapter, and it really does go into a ton of detail. I talk about the start of YouTube and how to pick your niche. I then talk about like reaching out to brands, working on your first brand deals, and we even go as far as talking about how to build a corporation and hire staff, and even go into ways that we as a media company have invested our capital for long term, such as real estate. So it is just like a fully honest and transparent course where we talk about the brand deals that we work on without naming brands specifically, but the different structures and deals and ways to reach out that I'm pretty sure will lead to great success, because there are just so many talented creators out there who are just trying to navigate the business side a little bit better. There is a free PDF deck. You guys can take a look at it, figure out if it's valuable for you. So if you guys want to download that, I'm going to leave a link down below. Just leave your email. It'll send you a PDF deck right away, and you can kind of get a sneak peek into the course content. I also do really hope to host like webinars on there, which allow me to answer you guys' live questions on the spot, as well as case studies that you guys might bring in terms of brand deals and how I would advise on negotiating it, while everyone is able to sit there in the webinar and also learn from that live case study. So if there's one specific revenue stream that I am super passionate about and have been channeling a lot of attention into because it is such a long-term thing, it has to be real estate. And it's no secret that the YouTube industry that I'm in, which generates over 95% of my total revenue, is very lucrative for the amount of work that has to be done. And there's plenty of insane opportunities that I plan to continue with for a very long time. But the reality is I will have to diversify, because it may not be around forever. The industry changes very quickly, and I'm fully aware that the opportunities that we have right now may not be around in 10 to 15 years. So what I've really been trying to do is invest in real estate. And the way I have it set up is that I currently own 4 properties in total. There's the one that I live in right now that I purchased in 2017. There's the company office that I purchased in 2020 through the media company. There's also an Airbnb property that I purchased in the start of 2021. And towards the end of 2021, I purchased my dream condo, which is a lot larger than the current current one here and is going to go through a renovation process. And I think if I look at like my 10-year goals, the plan is to continue to do YouTube, document all these series and my love for interior design and technology, as well as business, and continue to buy properties that are going to be Airbnbs and eventually also build homes that I can have as either vacation rentals or long-term investments that I hold on to for a very long time and continue to rent out and also re-leverage when other purchase opportunities come. So it is essentially the BRRRR method, I would say, and that is the process of buying, refinishing, renting, and repeating. And that is pretty much what I've been doing. I buy the property, I cover it on my series. We have sponsors that pay to be in the videos, as well as companies that give us discounts to have their products featured in the renovation project. We're able to get huge discounts on furniture through that as well. And then we go ahead and rent it out as a luxury Airbnb experience. And from that, the positive cash flow can continue going into paying off the mortgage faster. Then I can go ahead and refinance that and put that towards the down payment of another investment property. So just in terms of numbers, my overall real estate portfolio, I paid just over $3 million in total for all of them. And I put a down payment of between 15 and 25% on these properties. And today I would say on a conservative appraisal value, they're probably worth close to like the mid $4 to $5 million mark, which I would say is pretty good. But as I mentioned, I don't plan to sell any of these because these are all zoned in buildings that allow for Airbnb and short-term rentals. So I can always generate revenue and profits from that. Just from the numbers alone of my Airbnb property that went live about 2 months ago, it is a unit that I paid $550,000 for, put about $100,000 in like remodeling in, and my mortgage per month is just under $2,000. And in the month of April, it had a 90% occupancy and the revenue total was $7,986. I delegated the management of this entire property to an Airbnb manager and he collects 20%. There's also other expenses, which because the Airbnb is relatively new, resulted in a cost of $2,540, but typically that would be a lot lower. So that means my total like net revenue on that month is $5,445.82. And when it comes to the mortgage itself, that is $1,900. There's also the fees, which are $1,500 a year to have the business license. There's also property tax, which is about $200 a month. And there's also the strata fees, which is $400. So in terms of like net profit, I think I could expect to make between $25,000 to $30,000 in total net profit after all my expenses. And this is for a property that I honestly didn't think had that much potential on the Airbnb side alone. The property that I'm in right now is going to also be going on Airbnb as soon as my personal condo is done. And this is the one that I expect to be a very good moneymaker. And I believe that it will do over 5 figures in monthly revenue easily. So my goal with real estate is to continue to jump at opportunities of properties that are relatively unique. And I think the first like goalpost is to generate $100,000 a year in net profit off rentals. And eventually we'll continue to expand this portfolio in what I call the feature collection as kind of a subsidiary of my media company. So another one of my investments is the clothing company, and I bought into it in 2019 and currently own 50% of it. And not only do we sell the products online, and I used to wear a lot in my videos, but we also have a retail store in downtown Victoria, which was just like the perfect storm of great opportunity where there was a sublease in the perfect location, great size, and at a great price. And so we decided to take that leap and open the retail store. And so far, the retail store itself has done pretty decent. But the reason why it is so different from all of my other investments is that it has a ton of overhead cost. So this clothing company actually recently went through a rebrand from Dangerfield over to Kinsvale, and we're just in the process of rebranding all of our inventory before I start wearing it more online and showing you guys like the hoodie drops, which you guys see I'm wearing hoodies all the time. But that company on average generates between $100,000 to $150,000 a year in terms of revenue. And I'm essentially fully hands off on that. I don't really work on it on like the day-to-day. I do consult it a little bit, and we also utilize our resources to produce the visuals for that, as well as just general social media and business advice. But other than that, it's a relatively passive investment. But to be honest, it hasn't really generated any positive cash flow for myself, because no matter what profit you have within the clothing industry, you have overhead costs of rent, payroll, inventory, and it just keeps getting put into future drops. And so I haven't actually taken any dividends out. The good thing is that the way I invested in that company was through a promissory note. So within that 5-year span after my investment, I do receive my initial investment back and still hold the same amount of equity, but it will depend on how well the company performs both in its retail and online to determine how much profit it is able to generate. And in certain months, for example, if that company were to lose money, as a co-owner of it, I am partially responsible to funding it as well. So yeah, it is something that runs, but the clothing industry compared to marketing and like social media is just nowhere near the same ballpark when it comes to positive cash flow. And so my focus has kind of shifted towards real estate long-term and things that we fully run as a media company. There is also areas where we do consulting, whether it is social media marketing or also consulting to consumer tech brands, where we give them our opinions based on testing all the products in the industry on how a specific brand can improve their products for the end consumer. And the rates on that can definitely vary all over the place. And personally, I don't really like scheduling calls weeks in advance, because it is just such an adaptive and busy schedule with travel, with videos, with deadlines. I'm usually editing in the evening as well. And so we do a couple of those a year, and it's usually anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 and up per hour, which is actually relatively in line with the hourly rate of the media company. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this video. And as always, if you have any questions, make sure you drop them down below. I'm here to tell you everything that I've learned over the years. And so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you all in the next video.